Welcome to the C-Suite. Thanks for joining us for another episode of So You Want to Join the C-Suite. Today, we're talking about burnout. Executive burnout doesn't always look like collapse. You don't always seem to be falling apart, and sometimes it looks kind of polished. In this episode, we'll explore the hidden toll of leadership done wrong and what it takes to reset before your impact starts to suffer. So, gentlemen, have you all experienced burnout in your...
Gosh, I mean, does today count? It was before we were recording. I was talking to Adam, and I said, there was a point in time where I feel like I would tell my team when I started that, I know we're really busy, but at some point things are going to even out. And I've stopped using that message because, frankly, it's just not true anymore. I think we are all living in a time and place where the rate of change is unlike anything we've ever seen. And so things aren't going to slow down anytime soon. And I think managing burnout is very topical. So I'm glad we're talking about it today.
It's been a day, and so it's a great topic to talk about.
Yeah. I don't know why we do these things on Monday. We really, maybe we should do them on, right? Friday after the happy hour.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a whole different podcast.
Yeah, that's true. Not Delta sanctioned, I assume. So, yeah.
Our editor would have to do a lot more beeping, I'm sure. So how does burnout show up? What does it look like in the C-suite?
And I think that's the hard thing, right? You kind of hinted at it. I think when you have people who are used to operating with a certain sort of professional shield or mask, if you will, right? It sometimes can be really hard to see. And I will admit, I haven't been doing this for that long. So I have seen it a little bit, but not maybe as much as others. And what comes to mind for me, I think, is sort of manifests itself in like rigidity, right? In an adherence to sort of, we must follow the rules and the playbook, right? I think I've seen people who were at one point in time very willing or amenable to pivot because that's what we do. I feel like on a daily or sometimes hourly basis, right? We're pivoting toward the hottest iron in the fire. And then, when you collaborate with others, when you're talking about sort of cross-functional implementations of technology, which is what I'm most familiar with, then people sometimes will hide behind sort of schedule or rules or, process in a way that they might not otherwise. And sometimes I think it can indicate that they're just like at zero. They're running on empty, right? And rather than admit it, because nobody wants to admit that, right? Nobody wants to necessarily appear as though they are not ready to take on more and energized and up for the challenge. I think it's easier to deflect and and maybe things like the risk process, right? Using that as a shield, or things like budget or calendar or whatever the case may be, where you may otherwise have been to collaborating differently. You can use those things as a tool to sort of shut something down because you just can't take it on, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not somebody screaming Bloody Mary and hanging from the rafters, right? It all is very quiet, I think. So,
well, you don't want to let your team down, right? You want to lead your
Sure.
team, and I don't want to, let me make it personal. I don't want to by admitting that like I've hit my limit. What is that? Where are they?
Yeah. You know what it is? When you just said that, it's almost like it's not leading, it's managing, right? It's like you're just sort of managing through to get to an outcome versus kind of leading in that strategic or innovative way because you don't have the bandwidth for it at a given point in time.
I think that's it. I think that's exactly it. Because I know that when I'm burning out, it's when I want to say, "Because I said so." Just do it because I said so. I don't want to have
Yeah.
because the energy to explain it is so much. But that's what we do. That's what we have to do is help them understand the why so that they can operate independently.
Yeah.
Tend to fall back into those compensation mechanisms. And so what looks like me walk by and like, oh, the door's closed again. It's isolationism to be a little bit pulling, inside of yourself because it's easier. Show others that you're struggling or that there might be something going on. But you try to prevent that by kind of shielding yourself or shielding others from what you're going through, but not a good idea either. Well, that's our role, right? We're supposed to be sitting here at this level where we're supposed to be the example for everybody else. And sometimes the biggest challenge we have.
What are the early warning signs?
It's closed. Myself, spacing out in meetings. I'll be honest with you. Biggest early warning sign for me is when we get together as a group, and I'm huge into collaboration. Believe in making sure everybody at the table is heard, especially anybody who has a stake in the conversation. Things that I'm really passionate about. The meeting, when we get back around, realize I don't know if I heard everybody. I listened, but did I actually hear everybody? It's an early warning sign. That means my brain is sort of phasing out in different ways, right? I'm there, but am I actually there? For me, it just feels very transactional. I'm there. I'm following the calendar. Kind of like Michael, you're saying, it's on the calendar. You can have a full calendar. I mean, you're getting anything done. You're sort of going through the motions, it on paper, but does that actually mean you're being effective? The day when you look back at your week, at the end of the day, when you look back at your day, when you look back at your week, accomplished. And it just becomes very just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And then you're not really pulling out and you're saying, oh, wow, I was able to accomplish a lot this week, or we really pushed the needle forward, sort of quo. And whenever you hit that point where you're just sort of keeping status quo, and sometimes that's okay. I mean, especially if you've just got through a really big project and you need a week to just sort of chill out, where you just want things to be status quo. If intentional, that's different. But if you really need to continue to move that needle forward and you need to continue to push, and all of a sudden you just sort of stall out a little bit, you're spinning your wheels. I mean, that's my early warning signs when I'm just sort of sitting there and I'm not getting anything done.
Yeah, I think it's, and along the same lines, it's like decision deferral, right? Like I am either I'll just say you decide kind of thing, which is not my nature. I don't think it's any of our nature necessarily. Well, it's part of the reason we are where we are. But I think either that or just your point, maybe a little bit of avoidance. Like there's something that I know I need to deal with, and normally I might tackle it head on. But if my energy is at a zero, then I'm definitely gonna kick that can down the road.
Yeah, I guess I'm more aggressive than you guys are because I get irritable when so
Mm,
I I can when I'm sitting in a meeting and it's the most normal thing and I'm like, "Ugh!" That's okay.
yeah.
Do
No, I
people
get
see it on
that.
your
Maybe I
face?
wouldn't have admitted it first, but I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Will say to that point, Stacey, when there are moments where I may be typically expected to be more collaborative in a decision, I may just be like, I'm sick of talking about this, guys.
Fine,
We've been
whatever.
spinning our wheels on this for 2 weeks. I'm just going to make a decision on this. And people, whoa, I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that has to happen, but other times it's catching them off guard, and that might be reasonable.
Yeah. I have a tell that my team will appreciate. My tell is that I say I need to sleep on it, whether that's on a Thursday, Friday, whatever. It's just I like you guys. I think we've exhausted this conversation. I'm going to sleep on it. Now, tell is that usually means that it's not going to go the way that they want it to go, but I'm just sort of deferring the answer until I can collect my thoughts. But yeah, that's anyone on my team that listens to this will find that humorous. So I hope anyway.
Oh, what do you cut from your calendar or your agenda to start getting that
Yeah.
energy back?
Is everything an option? No.
Obviously not.
Yeah, no. I think for me, I would look at, and I try to do this, right? I try to figure out ways to make in-person meetings, whether virtual or physically in person, situations where information is flowing both ways, right?
Mhm.
If there's ever a meeting where it's just someone giving a status update or a group of people giving a status update that they could have communicated in an email or a dashboard or something, some other project management mechanism, those would be the first to go, right? And it's hard because I think you want to recognize the effort that people are putting in, and you want to recognize that that people want your time, right? But figuring out how to make those interactions more meaningful, right? Making sure that you're in a position to communicate back. So whether that's, hey, whatever you're going to talk me through in the meeting, send it to me ahead of time so that I can process it and come to you with questions so that it's actually a conversation versus a one-way dialogue of you telling me about all the milestones you've hit, right? And then I think like secondary to that would be, and we're working on this. I wish I could come up with a perfect project management tool because I'd be in a different business. But anything that's green, right? Anything that is going well, that doesn't need to be focused on, like why let's not focus on it, right? Let's focus on the hard stuff, the yellows, the reds, the things where there's really hurdles that or obstacles that need to be moved. I mean, that's part of where I can add value in a lot of ways, right? Is, what you're not getting attention from something you need attention from, that kind of thing. So I'd much rather have those kinds of conversations where I have actionable outcomes, right? That I need to do something with versus, listen, all the great work that people are doing is not going unnoticed, right? And
Mhm.
so I don't want people to be in a position where they feel like they have to come to me with updates just for the sake of updating me.
I
And
try to delegate more. So when I'm hit that point where I'm aggravated by even the slightest request, that's when I'm like, okay, I have to get some stuff off of my plate. I have to, and maybe I don't need to be in all of those status meetings. Maybe somebody else can lead that. Maybe that, like, what can I get off of my plate? What can somebody else do? The challenge I've always faced in a leadership role is I'm always the best person to do every job, in my opinion. I should be the one doing it. It's not possible. So I have to, what are the things that only I can do? And how do I focus on just those things and then delegate anything that somebody else could do?
the challenge when you start delegating too many things is that you start falling behind. If I am finding myself delegating too many tasks out, and they're fantastic at what they do, often worry that when they come back to me with questions about something, 5 steps behind. Then I have to play catch up to figure out what exactly are they talking about because I don't recall that decision that was made. Got to sit there and think, okay, is this something I need to, is this a battle I need to fight? Because that's not a decision I would have made at them because I delegated that to them to make that decision. How now times the reason we're in these roles is because the expectation is that we have the vision to see what the downstream results of all those decisions are. A lot of times individuals that we delegate tasks to, they're task oriented. So they're going to make a decision that is in the moment the best answer.
Mhm.
Is have the ability to see the consequences 10 steps ahead. And sometimes that's just because their role doesn't give them purview to those consequences. Double-edged sword sometimes when you're delegating off tasks. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's hard. Like, as a rule, I think there's many times there are many times, and you all may agree, where you delegate something and the decisions aren't exactly how you would have made them. But if it's
Mhm.
not going to ultimately impact the outcome, to your point, Adam, then figuring out how to let it go, again, maybe against most of our natures, given given where we are, right? But figuring out how to let it go is really important, right? And perhaps even when you're not burnt out and you have some bandwidth, using it as an opportunity to a teachable moment kind of thing, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
I just don't feel like vacations provide the same rejuvenation that they used to,
ugh,
and maybe it's because 'cause I'm older or maybe it's because of the position, but I don't feel like I get the break that
yeah,
vacations are supposed to promise.
break. I don't know what that
yeah,
is, Stacey. This vacation I had, I was down in the Dominican with fiance, and he had a great time. That doesn't mean I was disconnected. And had I been completely disconnected, the results of that I think would have been terrifying. And to say that people couldn't have handled it, it's just that balance, completely disconnect for this days. It happens in my absence that I then have to take extra time when I get back to catch up on versus if while I'm on vacation, I take a half hour in the morning or an hour in the morning and a half hour in the evening and just catch up from the day, file off emails, make sure I'm staying on top of things. Even if you're on vacation in this role, I mean, it's just sort of a blanket statement. You're never on vacation. You never have a day off. You never have time to yourself. But that is the trade off of leadership, right? This is what you
yeah.
know. That's that going into this. And so sometimes that can result in burnout. And whether you can learn to manage that, that's really the key. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. And if it is, it is. You got to figure out a way to cope with that.
I,
It's definitely a different perspective because, and I
Yeah.
think it does mean that we get burnout, we get hit with burnout as a
Yeah.
leadership role more frequently
100%.
because we don't get that kind of break.
yeah.
Yeah.
I try to set up like give myself little tools, right? I do what you do, Adam, where I'll take time in the morning or in the evening. Like, there was a recent trip we were on, and we would be out for the day and then we'd come back, and I would, I'll always make it a point, I'll get ready first and then I'll leave the room and go find somewhere quiet while my partner's getting ready, and I'll just see what's happened over the course of the day. I don't like to do it in the morning as much because I feel like I carry it with me through the day
Yeah.
then.
It
But the
does, yeah.
number one thing I always do is I tell my team, listen, I'm not going to look at email in real time, so just forget about it. If you need something, just text me, right? I will, of course, see that and get back to you right away. And the number of times that people actually do that are pretty few and far between. Some of it for me is getting over the mental hurdle of like, the place is not going to fall down because I'm not there, right? And so a little bit of that is my type A nature, but again, like that's the job. That's why we are where we are. So
Yeah. So
you're in a position like where I'm at when I first started in this role, drastically different than the way it looks today. Now, years ago, started here, my, in this particular role that I'm in, ability to disconnect was much more limited. I've got systems in place. I've got people in place. I have a different comfort level, right? I know what to expect. Now I'm much more able to disconnect than I used to be, and part of that's just time.
yeah, for sure. But the right people around you, you can disconnect
100%.
a lot more easily, for sure.
Hello. I have a person on my team that runs interference because she knows everyone will be happier if I get a break. So, knowing that the breaks are not as rejuvenating as they used to be, how do you rebuild focus once you know you hit a place where you're crispier on the edges? How do you get back?
I like that.
It's not push harder, that's for sure. We've just talked about vacations don't work. I'll speak for myself, and I have zero shame in talking about this. I think comes from executive coaching. So I have an executive coach I work with, I talk to. Challenges that I've discovered when I got into leadership is network of peers becomes very limited. It's limited by intention and design. You have you're a member of a staff when you're on a team. You have a lot of peers. Peer-to-peer conversation can be really helpful. Some of it's venting, and some of it's not helpful. A lot of individuals that you can talk to that your feelings, frustrations, you can ease around with our level. At my firm, the bigger firms may have a few more options, but we still are pretty limited as the amount of individuals that sit at our level that we can actually have a real peer-to-peer conversation with that doesn't disrupt day-to-day workflow, right? Because some of the things that we need to talk about, I share with staff. I can't share with other leadership members because it has a lot of consequences if I were to do that. And finding individuals outside of the organization, outside direct line of work, has been great for me. But mental health is a huge part of this, and no shame in making sure that you're seeking the help you need, depending on how much burnout you're having. Coaching is really important. Back, having conversations internally, well, you're family, making sure that whatever you're doing outside of the office, while your time might be limited, that as healthy as possible. No, it's sort of an old trope about, eating right and going to the gym and finding things that make you happy. But I know for myself, I'm stressed outside of work, I'm stressed in work. And when I'm stressed in work, I'm stressed outside of work. It's a symbiotic relationship. So if I can at least pull one piece of that away, it affects both. I'm happier outside of work, I'm happier in work. So that's me, that's what I found very effective.
Was really disappointed to learn that making healthy choices made a big difference in my
No,
mental health.
I know it's the worst, right? I
Cream is
mean,
fine. You can still eat ice
yeah,
cream. It's
yeah. No, I think that's all true. And I think, like, I know that for me, I tend to get a bit more regimented too, just as a way to say, okay, I'm going to be very deliberate about my schedule. I'm very regimented about the time that I know I need to accomplish some of the deep thinking or more strategic type of work, right? And make sure that I'm leaning on the other people around me to help me manage that, right? And so I know we've talked a lot about delegation, and
Mhm.
I think that's a big part of it too. Really hard to reset. And I say this as someone who I don't know that I've faced sort of a big wall as far as burnout is concerned, although I will admit, and I know we were joking around at the beginning, like maybe I feel one coming because I think that, again, the pace at which we are all operating right now in the tech space in particular, but I mean, it's everywhere. AI is impactful across every job role in every industry everywhere. I think you have to find your tools, right? You have to put things in your toolkit that will help you vent it. But if you get there coming back from it, yeah, that one I don't know if I have a lot of insight on.
Yeah. I mean, I think Adam's point about mental health, taking care of your mental health, including your physical health, I think it's the only way to
Yeah.
ultimately get
And
back.
just being willing to talk about things, right? Like, I mean, it sounds when you say it like the simplest thing in the world. It's obviously, we all know it's much more complex and nuanced than that, but just by being, in a sense, sort of brave enough or smart enough to get out of your own way about it, right? I mean, and talk about it, that's huge. So finding your people, to your point, Adam, is a big part of it.
This is always a real difficult part of the conversation, but been there before, and not at this level, but I have to the conclusion that maybe circumstances aren't right for me. point in your career, you will hit that point where you've around you aren't right, the people above you, below you, you don't have the ability, the energy, the power it is to change those circumstances. And sometimes the only way you can change those circumstances is to find a way to something new. No shame in that either. I mean, I know is always a challenge when it comes to considering what's your next career move. And the reason we're talking about this is if you want to become a member of the C-suite, and you might not be right now, right? And times just getting to this level, this job for a while, this career choice for a while, and you're like, wait a second, well, maybe this isn't the right spot for me to land. It's okay to do that. It's okay to find something else. It's okay to pivot. I mean, look, the fire service for years, I was in EMS. I pivoted over to here. I'm in my 40s. I can make another pivot. I mean, as an example, the founder of the firm that I'm with is in the military. He didn't become an attorney until the 40s, and then he founded this firm. So there is always an option to start something new. It makes you happy. This might be finding a different location to land, but discount that as an option because there's always opportunities for you.
Sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures.
Well said. Yeah.
And don't wait till you're desperate because then you make stupid decisions. No, until you're desperate. You'll make stupid decisions. You'll say stupid things and then you'll burn bridges. And whatever you do,
Nobody wants
love
that.
of God, don't burn bridges. Who has been stupid and young once, do not burn bridges. Do not say things you will regret. It just takes a while to land back on your feet. And in this legal community, we are not that big. The legal community, especially in the tech side, I mean, granted, I hold dual roles. I'm multifaceted, but it's not a huge community. There's three of us on a screen, but there's a lot of people out there, but we're a really small community. So when things happen, when things get said, it gets around. And so if you need to find a way out, just gracefully find a way out. Rather than, you'll regret later.
I couldn't agree more. I don't know it's on that for sure.
Hey, well, thank you, gentlemen, for this was a great episode. I really appreciate how.
Yeah, and we thought it was going to be short, but here we are. Well, thanks as always, Stacey.
Appreciate it.
Let me do my wrap up. Thanks for joining us for So You Want to Join the C-Suite, where we go behind the title and inside the realities of law firm leadership. We'll be back next time for Blind Spots, the feedback you're not getting. And don't miss us at ILTACon 2026, where you can see So You Want to Join the C-Suite live and in person. You can register at iltacon.org. All right.